to Mama Toto Docs. I'm Dr. Martha, a pediatrician.
And I'm Dr. Lisa, the obstetrician.
And we are Dr. Moms. On today's show, we are going to be discussing immunizations. It's a common thing that we experience as moms. So Lisa, can you tell me how your experience has been with immunizations?
So immunizing my son, he's now 1 year, 8 months. We've been following things, so we've tried to do the baby-friendly vaccines, which of course are more expensive, but we've been told the baby-friendly really are better for the child, less chances of fever, less chances of seizures and all of that. But to be honest, after most of them, he still has had a fever. He has still been irritable, he's still been sick. So I was like, so what's the difference really? Is there going to be a difference with, Kepi versus baby-friendly? So we did the Kepi for, I think it was measles, the measles jab. We did it for him, didn't do the baby-friendly. And he was still sick. In fact, now even this time he broke out in a rash. So that's been my experience. I just don't see the difference between the two. And I hope you're going to, demystify these myths about versus baby-friendly and Kepi and everything else about vaccines.
Alright. And do you trust vaccines?
I do, totally. Yes. I trust them. I trust them for sure. I feel like, especially like polio vaccine, the measles vaccine, that's the last time, they've been breakouts, but it's greatly eradicated that prevalence of some of those diseases. So I think it's true. I trust vaccines, but I don't know about the influenza vaccine, for example. The whole thing of every year and so on. I'm like, is it really necessary? But we still do them for him, for sure.
Okay. Great. You started us off well.
Yeah.
So I'll start by defining what a vaccine is. A vaccine is basically just a weakened form of a pathogen, and pathogen is what causes the disease.
Yeah.
So it's a weakened form of either the bacteria or the viruses that cause illness, and they are given to children so that their bodies can be able to mount an immunity, so that in the event that they do get the actual disease, their body is able to mount an immune response and they don't get as sick. So it's not to say that you can't get like one of those illnesses that you're immunized against. It's just that vaccines protect you from the deadly effects of the disease. And in our country, we have our national schedule, which is also known as Kepi. Kepi stands for Kenya Expanded Program of Immunization. So different countries have their own immunization schedule. And for Kenya, we've adopted one called Kepi. Basically, we give vaccines from birth up to the 5 years of age. In the first year, that's where the bulk of most vaccines are given. So we give birth vaccines. So when the baby is born or before you go home from hospital, there are those birth vaccines we give. And then when you come back for a 2-week review, we give you a card that now has all the vaccines that your baby is going to get subsequently. So after birth, the next vaccines are at 6 weeks, at 10 weeks, and then at 14 weeks. The 6, 10, and 14 are the ones where you have an option of getting baby-friendly. And what it basically means, baby-friendly, is that one of the components of the vaccine called DPT, now the P, which stands for pertussis, in baby-friendly, they've weakened it further. It's called, it has an acellular pertussis. So in essence, it will not cause those side effects like fever or illness per se, because you've not used the whole component of the pertussis vaccine. In essence, baby-friendly vaccines should not cause fever and should not cause illness, but it can. It can happen. It can happen. But do both of them give equal immunity? Yes. So this is not to say that you must get the baby-friendly vaccines. No, even the Kepi vaccines are equally effective. And even that fever that the baby gets is a sign of showing that their body is mounting an immune response. Then also, the baby-friendly vaccines tend to be more expensive. At birth, we get the BCG vaccine. That's the one you get on your left forearm.
Yeah.
And oral polio.
Yeah.
Then at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, you can get 2 orals and 2 injections.
Okay.
So the oral is oral polio and rotavirus, and the injections are the hexaxim. So it has the 5 components: diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, Haemophilus influenza, and hepatitis B. So remember, the P component is what changes between baby friendly and KEPI.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's usually, especially in the 6, 10, and 14 weeks. Yeah. And rotavirus is oral.
Yeah.
So you get oral polio, rotavirus, and then 2 injections.
And both are the
Yes,
thigh.
on the thigh.
Okay.
Yeah, one is the hexaxim, which is 1 injection containing the 5.
Yes.
The other one is pneumococcal vaccine. So you're also vaccinated against pneumonia. Yeah. So you can see those are a lot of pathogens all at once. And we normally advise, don't give anything for preventing fever before the vaccine. There is no need to give paracetamol before. And even after the vaccine, you wait at least 4 hours before you give either Calpol or Panadol. And this is because you want the body to mount its own response. And it's normal for baby to be cranky. It's normal for baby to just want to be held, to just want to breastfeed. It's normal, but those symptoms should pass at least within 24 hours. So that is what basically you check for at that time. And then now, after you do your 14 weeks, you get a bit of a break because now the next vaccines are at 6 months. And 6 months, 7 months, now this is under the baby-friendly schedule. There's the flu vaccine. That one is not in the KEPI schedule. But for those who can have access to it, especially in the first year of life, I find it very, it has some benefit, especially in the COVID season. We really found some benefit with it. Yes, it was giving like co-protection.
So this is the influenza flu.
This is influenza flu vaccine at 6 months and then at 7 months. And then after 7 months, you have 9 months your measles, rubella. And then at 10 months, there's meningococcal. Whichever schedule you're using, it's important to know what vaccine your baby is getting at each schedule. And then if you're using KEPI and you may not have enough, you may not be able to pay for all these other additional vaccines. The ones that I usually really recommend are like meningococcal at like 10 months. That one I usually tell parents just save and because it's a beneficial vaccine. Because you don't want those detrimental effects of meningitis. After 10 months meningococcal, at 12 months there's chickenpox, hepatitis A. There's that schedule that you'll be given that you will follow. A common question I'm asked, say, what happens if I miss my appointment? So if your child is sick on your appointment day, you can wait for the child to get better. Give it like a week. If they have, especially if they're having fever, you can wait a week and then come in and get the vaccine. If you miss vaccines for a month, the same thing. At first contact, whenever you go to hospital and the child is okay, you should be immunized. Then you just push back all the other vaccines that you would have gotten using the same intervals.
Makes sense. So not everything at the same time.
You won't say at now everything you've missed. For example, if the baby had missed the 9-month vaccine and then comes at 1 year, you give the 9-month vaccine they were 9 months and then push back the other vaccines by a month.
Makes sense.
Other questions I'm asked, do vaccines have very serious side effects? There was a time people used to say the measles, mumps, rubella virus, a vaccine used to cause autism.
Yeah, I've heard of
especially in
that.
the US.
Yeah.
But they did conclusive studies and there are no side effects.
Yeah.
There are others who used to report that you could get developmental delay.
Yeah.
It has not been shown scientifically.
Yeah.
So that's just to say vaccines are safe
Yeah.
and they work.
Yeah.
And parents should be encouraged to get their children vaccinated.
Yeah.
And even we're coming out of COVID season.
Yeah.
We also were passing the same message. So for pregnant women, for breastfeeding moms, it was still safe to get the COVID vaccine because those antibodies will be passed on
to the baby,
to their babies. For protection.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I find that very interesting about vaccines, but I think the point is without those vaccines. So, of course, there are people, maybe anti-vaxxers, who are totally against them. I mean, they still have higher chances of getting all of these illnesses and for them hitting them even harder, right? For, I mean, there are a number of families who maybe, started like in the West, give back to your baby there, and maybe for the first 6 months they're there, but then they relocate. And like you had said before, there are very different schedules depending on the country, depending on their guidelines. So what happens to babies like that? For example, a baby who has come from the West and now has moved to Kenya. I mean, what happens? Do they need to start the vaccines from the beginning, or what happens to protect them?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'd do is we'd start from the point of seeing what vaccines they've already gotten.
Yeah.
Because there are vaccines that are universally immunized, irrespective of which part of the world you're from.
Yeah.
But like there are some that are endemic now just for Africa and specifically even for Kenya.
Yeah.
So like for us in Africa, BCG is an important vaccine. BCG is the vaccine that protects against TB.
Right.
It's not given that much in the West because TB is not as prevalent. So it depends. If they are coming for a trip, maybe 2 weeks or a month, that's okay. They may not necessarily need to be vaccinated. If they're relocating permanently to Africa or a country within Africa, they may need to get BCG vaccine, the vaccine against TB. There are also other vaccines like yellow fever, for example. Within the country, there are specific areas where it must be given, especially in the Rift Valley area. But then also for travel purposes, like if you're leaving Kenya to go like to India or South Africa, they may also need the yellow fever vaccine. If you're traveling to another place, find out what vaccines are necessary there. And then you can consult your doctor, your pediatrician, they'll advise on which vaccines to get.
Okay. That's good. I mean, thanks for defining BCGs for that. And that's the one that we get the scar.
Yes, you get the scar. Yes.
So what happens if my baby just doesn't get a scar? Because some people, that's the way you can tell that people have been, immunized against TB. But some just don't have that scar. What does that mean?
So we give the BCG vaccine at birth or before discharge, and it's given on the left forearm. It's an intradermal injection, so just beneath the skin. So what happens is at 6 weeks, when you're coming for your 6-week vaccine, the nurse or the doctor should be able to check and see if the scar has started forming. But in some cases, it doesn't form. The practice a long time ago used to be if you don't see a scar, you assume that it was not given and give. But now it's changing, especially because most times babies are born in a hospital or in a healthcare facility. And there's proper documentation. So all you need to do, if you don't see the scar, you really want to confirm that it was actually given. Because sometimes it depends. If it was given into the muscle, it may not form a scar. So there's no need to repeat. It's just to ensure that it was given.
So back to this different doctors, different schedules. I mean, generally, there's some variation with schedules. You find, or some people go at 9 months for measles, some go at 10, some don't do all the meningococcal, and so on and so forth, but all in the very same country.
Yeah.
What happens with that? Is there a standard one? I mean, what would you advise? Because you find that many mothers talk to each other and they wonder, okay, why hasn't my child gone for this one? Or why has your doctor said you go for this one? And so on and so forth. So if you could just shed light on that.
As I said, we have the standard national protocol, which we use like in all government facilities and hospitals, and they are free. That's the one called KEPI. And even baby friendly incorporates KEPI. It's just that now it has additional vaccines on top of that. But you can find there are other places where they essentially still have the same vaccines, but what they do is they want to reduce the load of pathogens that you're giving at one point in time. And the idea is, if you understand the immune response and immunology of how it works, you can actually play around with the schedule. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can actually play around with the schedule as long as you've given enough intervals for the antibodies to form and be created and circulate in the body. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's whatever your preference is, as long as they are immunizing against what we call the prevalent diseases in our region. And like you're immunizing against measles, you're immunizing against pneumonia, the TB, hepatitis B, polio, you know. The scheduling can differ.
So sort of just to also reduce or spread out the load of how much you're getting in. Okay. Finally, any tips for mothers in terms of vaccination time? You always in fact, you can even take the day off because you know that your child is probably just going to be irritable from the first minute to the last minute. I mean, it's a lot. So then, any tips for making the vaccination period, just a bit smoother? I know you already mentioned we can give paracetamol, 4 hours after. Is there anything else?
All right. Yes, vaccination days are very stressful, especially in the first year of life. Initially, when the 6, 10, 14 weeks, they're quite stressful. So what I would advise, especially for the 6, 10, and 14 weeks when they are going to get oral vaccines as well, you want to make sure you don't breastfeed the baby at least 30 minutes before they go in for their vaccine. Because if they've breastfed and they are full, and then they give the vaccine, the baby may even burp it out. It may come up. So you want baby to be full. We're not saying you come with a starved baby, but you can breastfeed like on the way to hospital. And then once you get there, if there's no long queue, like just hold a bit. Then now wait a bit after the oral vaccine has been given, then you can breastfeed. For the 2 injections, they get 2 injections at 6, 10, and 14. The hexaxin, the one that has the 5 components, which is given on the left thigh, it tends to swell sometimes. So when you go home, like after bathing the baby, you can massage with a warm cloth and just massage that section of the thigh. It's normal. And around 4 hours after you've given the vaccine, you can still also give some paracetamol, calpol to just sort of relieve baby's pain. Just be aware that that day baby will be extra fussy, may just want to be held and cuddled. That younger age group, less than 1. But you find now, like for toddlers, that's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Those are children who you can communicate in a way that they can understand. So you can tell them, like today, Ilam, we're going to the doctor, we're going to get what? A vaccine. And you can sort of try and demonstrate. Just try and help them understand that they'll go to hospital and they'll get a small injection that will help them fight disease and make sure they don't get sick. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
For sure,
there are some who it just backfires.
That's okay.
But for some, it helps because if they are prepared of what is going to happen, it's not so scary.
Brilliant. That's good. Thank you.
Welcome. So if you have any other questions or comments about immunization, something you're not sure about, feel free to reach out. You can
Yeah.
leave a comment.
Leave a comment, send a DM.
Yeah.
Anything of the sort. Follow us on our page. Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. We'll be here to answer any questions you need.
Yes.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.